Their definition of heaven is very structured. There's 3 levels of heaven: the telestial, the terrestrial, and the celestial. And then within the celestial kingdom, there's 3 levels inside that.
Wow.
So only the most elite of Mormons get to the top of heaven.
Hmm.
And anyone who is in a lower rank of heaven actually is a servant to the people at the top. So
Okay.
it's very hierarchical. There's a lot
Yeah.
of rules. And the temple specifically is your doing work in the temple is your ticket in, basically.
Okay.
If you can't get into the temple, you can't be saved.
Hmm.
And one of the things that gets you into the temple is you pay 10% of your income to the church.
Right.
And
Well, it's interesting you say pay it. Obviously that's a familiar concept to Christians in terms of tithing, but is it less voluntary than a tithe would be?
absolutely.
Hmm.
If you can't prove that you paid 10%, the church can revoke your temple recommend.
Oh wow. But
Mhm.
is this temple thing, is that, this membership almost, is that something that every Mormon tries to strive for, or what, is that like an exclusive club, if
Oh
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
the temple is the most holy place for Mormons. If they can't get into the temple, then they can't be in the presence of God.
Well, what's the criteria for that? Is that like, I'm trying to unpick, is that like going to church, going into the temple, is that like going to church, or is that like being a member of the temple organization? What does that look like?
No, so the only people who can get into the temple are the ones who have the recommend. So if you
Okay.
don't have a recommend, which there's a long process. So basically, you have to follow the word of wisdom, which is don't drink, don't smoke,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you have to be pure. So you're not fornicating, you're not being an adulterer, um, and then the tithing. You
Right.
have to do
Yeah.
that. And so there's all these requirements of, okay, so externally, how does your life look? And if your life doesn't look a certain way, they're not going to let you in.
Hmm.
And one thing that is a big rift between Mormons and non Mormons, specifically in the family area, is
Yeah.
that if Mormons get married, they can't invite non Mormons to their wedding.
Oh wow. Okay.
The non Mormons have to wait outside the temple and wait for the bride and groom to come out after the ceremony is
Hmm.
finished.
I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that.
Mhm.
Is this a hard process, becoming like a member of the temple, or getting this recommendation? Is that
Absolutely.
some? So it's not like, it's not like everyone gets one if they work hard enough.
Yep.
It's quite a
Mhm.
tricky thing to do.
Yeah, there are plenty of Mormons who don't have temple recommends. They call them less active or inactive Mormons, or more colloquial, Jack Mormons.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And so these are Mormons that they're Mormon in name only, not practice.
Hmm. That's, yeah, totally strange concept. I'd never heard of that. Um, and is so if you're in this lower level, it obviously doesn't affect your salvation necessarily, but it affects your status in the afterlife. Really, is that where that what that means?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another kind of similarity, I think, with Islam. Actually, the levels of heaven. I'm pretty sure they believe in 7 tiers of heaven, which is that the same number? Three? No, three. No,
Yeah,
slightly
they
less,
have
but
one, two,
three,
there's
four,
five.
five, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, if that had been 7 again, I would have thought, wow, this definitely, we're onto something here. But no, but it is a similar concept. I think, and even in Islam, there's those tiers of heaven.
Mhm.
So are people then striving towards getting this kind of top tier membership? How do you get to the top of this hierarchy?
Yeah, because only at the top can you achieve the promise of being with your family.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's essentially what Mormonism idolizes is the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important.
Right.
Um, and they say, don't you want to be with your family forever? And when you say that to a Christian,
Yeah.
the Christian's like, well, yeah, but that's on, whatever family member it is. Like, that's their choice. That's their
Right.
decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But in Mormonism, the family cannot be together forever unless every person in that family is Mormon and, has been following the rules and this and
Yeah.
that, this and that. And that is a big detractor of people leaving because there's a lot of pressure for personal responsibility on keeping the family together. Like if you stop believing in Mormonism and you wanted to leave, you're essentially breaking yourself off from your family spiritually.
And is that something that's affected you, like with your family, I'm assuming still Mormons, is that something that's affected your personal life?
Yeah. When I first left the Mormon church, I don't think my parents spoke to me for a full month.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was really awkward because I was still living at home.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah.
I worked 3 jobs. I left at like 6 in the morning and I didn't come home till 10 at night. And then I just slept and showered and ate.
Yeah.
And that was our relationship was
Wow.
I mean, I was really surprised. I was really worried that they were going to kick me out, but thank God they did not do that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of situations that the parents do kick the children out when they stop being Mormon.
Yeah, and like a level of shunning, I'm assuming as well, probably.
Yep. Now my relationship with my family has gotten much better over the years. But when I was a teenager, like doubting Mormonism,
Yeah.
there was a lot of tension. When I decided to leave, I told my parents before I went into the bishop to tell him to remove my name from the membership, because once you do that, the church makes sure that everybody in your family knows. So the bishop will reach out to your parents and tell them, hey, your child is trying to leave the church. And so then, everybody who is Mormon pretty much jumps on you like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. And is there a coming back from that? I'm assuming there probably is a way back if you were to come back to the faith, but
yeah, there's definitely a trial period if you try to be rebaptized. Because when I left the Mormon church, they sent me an official letter saying that my baptism was revoked. And if I wanted to come back, I'd have to be rebaptized.
Okay.
So there is a process for that. I'm not too familiar with it because I've never been interested.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Long may that continue.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the celestial level, I guess this is the level of that was spoken of in terms of becoming like God, I'm assuming. How does one achieve that level?
Yeah. So they believe that there's in their articles of faith, and if anybody wants to look this up, it's outlined pretty clearly in the articles of faith. But there's baptism. Yeah, baptism, endowments. No, baptism. So for men, they'll go baptism, receive the ordinances of the priesthood, because women aren't allowed to hold the priesthood in the Mormon church. So it's baptism, priesthood, endowments in the temple, I think, marriage, and then enduring to the end, whatever that means.
Right. So you actually have to be a member of like the clergy to be at the top level almost? Like you have to be a priest?
No.
Okay, sorry.
No. To get to the top, you basically just have to be a faithful member.
Oh, right, okay. Right, sorry, I thought you meant maybe those 5 things where you had to do like all of those to get like sort of higher up, but yeah, because what people have said to me, actually I've seen on Facebook recently, is they talk about the faith as one. Well, they say like Christianity is almost more demeaning, like you go through a whole life to be like a servant of God in heaven, whereas Mormonism tries to elevate you to a level, or like you're striving to be like elevated to a level similar to God or the same as God, and that's the argument I've heard used. So, I thought, it was definitely like it's definitely a compelling argument, I think, for someone who is just like maybe casually looking in, but at the same time, I guess it kind of writes off the humility message of Christianity. That you are lesser to God, that God is all powerful and is on a level that we could never achieve. It's like it's a difference that in itself I think is enough to rule out, like that it's a completely different religion. It rules out that it's just a part of Christianity, because I think, even the mere suggestion that you could be like God is blasphemy to Christians.
Jesus made it possible for resurrection.
Okay.
And they believe that everyone will be resurrected no matter their faith.
Okay.
And then there's salvation, which is what we are responsible for. Mm-hmm. So basically, Jesus paid the price so that we could all be resurrected, but it's our job to obtain salvation.
Right. And is there a hell then? In the
they call it outer darkness. They don't call it hell.
Okay.
And basically, the only people that go to outer darkness are apostates and followers of Satan.
And does that include other Christians and religions and things like that, and non-believers? Or
no?
Okay.
Mormons believe that like good standing Christians will go to the second level of heaven.
Okay. Well, I guess that's not so bad if that ends up being the case.